Hello and welcome again to another episode of Battle Ready. Today, we've talked in the past about, being a casual gamer and what that means. And I thought today we'd talk about list building, how to build lists.
Not with a hammer.
No tools needed. Well, no physical tools.
Isn't
The War Scroll Builder is a good tool, but it's not. It's digital. Anyway. So this isn't just about the requirements of building a list. The requirements are easy. You need 2,000 points, 3 battle line, 1 hero.
1,000 points.
Yeah, you could do 1,000 for sure. You need an amount of points, right? Whatever you and your partner are agreeing on. 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 if you want to get crazy.
Every model you own.
Every model.
Every model.
And then you just need a certain number of units that are designated battle line. You need 1 at least that's designated a hero. And there's some caps, right? In a 2,000 point game, you can only have 6 heroes. You can only have 4 artillery. I forget what it. But anyway,
That would
it
be
doesn't matter.
a lot of shooting.
It would be a lot of artillery for sure. But that's beside the point. That you can look up online. It's right there in the core rules. It's no big deal.
Uh-huh.
But the question is, when you're building a list, aside from those things, how do you build it? There's lots of units in the world, right? If you're going to build a Nighthaunt list, there's lots of stuff you want to include.
There's 16 heroes.
How do you choose what's going to go in your list? Drake, when you build a list, what are you thinking about?
The stuff that looks cool.
The stuff that looks cool. So actually, before we get to the stuff that looks cool, one of the things to consider in list building is use the models you have, right?
Yes.
If you don't have a model, it doesn't go in your list. That's an easy list building restriction. But then the models that you have, you probably have because you think they look cool. So first things first, you take the models you look cool.
Rule of cool.
Rule of cool. What else?
Me and Dad personally try to not go, as the orcs will put it, the dead killy ones.
I don't know about that. We do.
By dead killy, I mean the overpowered ones.
We do.
I mean the ones that are being exploited in tournaments.
Oh, well.
We don't do the exploited
We don't follow
strategies.
the tournament lists, right? So we don't even own LRL, so we're not worried about Sentinels.
What's LRL?
Lumineth. When it comes to Marathi and the bow snakes, we do that, but we only have 5 bow snakes, right? Because we want to keep variety. When we have Stormcast, but we don't have Stormcast dragons. So we're not chasing the meta list to get the most overpowered. Same thing with Nurgle, right? One of the really hot lists right now, my understanding,
Vikings.
is a bajillion Puscoil Blight Lords. So they're flying, right? And they're a little bit faster. And, well, we've got some Puscoils. We've got a unit of 2, and we use them, right? Mm-hmm. But we're just not going to follow the meta. So when we're building lists, we really want to stick with things that are cool for us. That said, when we're looking at the things that are cool, I don't think we're really toning down our lists much, right? We bring Kragnos.
Yes.
And he squishes things, right?
And eventually, maybe he gets squished if he's overwhelmed.
Right. We bring Marathi. We bring big units, of Gut Rippas, or units of Annihilators, or units of Virkos guys like Radikar the Beast, right?
We literally have 4 of them, I think.
We don't have 4 Radikars. We have 1 Radikar.
No, I mean 4 Virkos peoples.
Oh, yeah. We have 4 heroes, but 2 Virkos peoples.
2 out of how many?
Oh, there's a bunch of them. I can't remember all of them.
Is Virkos the most popular dynasty?
It's got the most named ones. It's like being the Legion of Grief, right?
Well, the Legion of Grief died. It's now No, it is.
Yeah. Or like Hammers of Sigmar, where almost all the heroes are Hammers of Sigmar. It's the same sort of thing. Yeah. Almost all the heroes are Virkos. Not all, but almost all. Yeah. But anyway. Oh, man, what were we saying?
Things.
We got distracted. Anyway, circling back around. Yeah, so you just bring the stuff that's what I was going to say, is we'll bring stuff that hits hard.
Yeah.
We're not dumbing down our list to be like, well, we could bring in stuff that's more powerful, but we want to dumb it down because reasons. No, we definitely bring in the stuff that we have that's pretty killy. We try to kill each other, but we just don't follow the tournament meta. Mm-hmm. But that aside, all right, so you put in the thing that you think is cool. What's next on your mind?
Put in the thing that's cool.
I'll tell you the thing that I think about when I'm building a list is that's usually where I start. I start by saying, ooh, I want to run Glutos. Or, ooh, I want to run Bastion Carthalos. You know, I want to do something that's cool. And then once I sort of have that idea in mind, as I go through and I'm looking at the units I want to put in my army, I think, well, okay, I want something that's going to hit real hard to kill stuff, right? So I look for a unit that does that. And then I think, ooh, and I'd love a unit that is weak and small and cheap that I can put in front of my heroes so they don't die right away. Little chaff unit. Okay. And then, I want somebody that can, maybe some archers or something, that can shoot, or a wizard or something that can cast some spells, but is mostly going to stay back and sit on an objective, right?
Yeah.
Little sitter guy, like a babysitter for the objective.
Maybe they should make a model that is literally sitting on a chair.
Yeah.
And he gets bonuses for sitting on objectives.
There you go.
That should be a model they make.
But what I mean is, when I'm doing all these things, every time I add a unit to my list, I'm thinking, well, what is this doing for me? What is it going to do during the game? Is it going to be a hitter? Is it going to be a piece that just walks up and punches? Or is it going to be like a teleporter guy, so it's going to snag objectives because it's super mobile? Or is it going to do whatever? Now, lots of times, the way the game plays out in my head during list building is not the way it plays out when it's actually on the table. But I don't just throw in units willy-nilly because, let's just throw these things in, usually. Usually, I think, okay, why is this going in? What do I want out of this unit? This unit needs to get me objective sitting. This unit needs to bring this buff. Oh, if this unit needs to bring this buff, I need to protect that unit, right? Because if it dies, I don't get that buff anymore. So that means I also need to bring in some bodyguards.
Like some hobgods.
Or even like the, what are those bodyguard guys from Stormcast called? Praetors. Yeah, you bring in some Praetors.
Torpors.
Or in the Virkos, the reason I have Radukar and Belladama is because Radukar can summon the wolves, and Belladama uses the wolves as bodyguards. So they're sort of helping each other.
Except you send the wolves out to go die.
Sometimes the wolves have other jobs to do. It's true. So it's, when building the list, you want to think, you don't want to just throw units in. You want to think, what am I going to do with this unit? And sort of visualizing and thinking about what you want them to do is very helpful, because sometimes you put that in and you're like, you know what? I've done this before with death armies, where I'm like, ooh, this lets me res some guys. Ooh, that lets me res some guys. Ooh, that lets me res some guys. I'll throw Emerald Wildstorm in there, and that'll res some guys. And then I look at my list after a while and I think, you know, I'll never die because I have so much resing, but I also don't have anything that can hit very hard. Or I don't have anything that can, do the things that I want to do. And so I'll never die, but I'll never get any objectives either, and I'll lose the game.
Eventually with the endless hordes, you'll eventually drag them down.
Well, if the game were, 100 battle rounds long, maybe. But with only 5 battle rounds, you've got to have something that can get in there and do work, right?
The way about the Gloomspite list is squigs, run in there and die. Trolls, destroy the rest.
That's pretty good, too, when you play that list, because the squigs tend to move up and sort of get into combat and maybe whittle some things down, but they're really just there to stymie my forward movement and then buy a round for the trolls to get up there. And then the trolls are much harder to shift and can hit harder themselves. So there is strategy to that, right? When you're building your list, you're thinking in your brain, like, what am I going to do with these units? So the list building is for where you develop that sort of initial strategy. What am I going to do with these guys? Again, doesn't always play out that way, because it turns out your opponent's going to do stuff you weren't thinking about, right? But that is one thing to think about.
There should be a new Stormcast model.
Oh, yeah?
The Lord Obliterator.
That sounds like a pretty powerful model.
He's 499 points.
Okay.
And he's basically a bigger Annihilator.
Well, they have those dragons. The dragons are like 500, 600 points, something like that. The big ones, Krondus and Karzai.
Wait, the Lord Obliterator rides one of them.
There you go. The only Stormcast cool enough to ride them.
The Lord Obliterator.
So, once you have that down, it's really just sort of start adding in units, counting up your points. And then what I like to do, I almost always bring a wizard.
Zappa.
It's very rare for me not to bring a wizard. I mean, there are some lists I know that do very well. A lot of Iron Jaws lists don't have wizards because they just come in and
Murder everyone.
You get to cast like 2 spells with your wizard before it's dead, right? So I know there's lists that do fine with no wizards, but I like having just that little bit of unbind, even like with the Cruel Boys, right? I'll bring a Swamp Kala just so that I have the unbind. I won't even cast its spell most of the time because it's going to be handing out poisons, but just so I have that unbind. Sometimes I'll bring a priest, not very common. Sometimes Stormcast. I do it with Daughters of Cain, but that's just because like every Daughters of Cain is a priest practically. But so you think about that and you think, oh, okay, I do want a wizard. But then at some point, at least when I make a list, there's always like
50.
the last 100 points.
And like,
and so you think, okay, well, do I take out a different unit? I take out the Vindictors to put in Liberators.
Well, Liberators.
And now I've got those because they're cheaper points wise. Yeah. And now I've got more room to add in another unit. So is that better? Or maybe you've got less points, or there's nothing you want to take out, and you think, all right, well,
end the spell.
Let's throw in an Emerald Life Swarm, or let's throw in a Quicksilver Swords, or let's throw in a Purple Sun, right? And so you use an endless spell to fill out those points. And I actually really like endless spells in 3.0.
Really?
Because if I pay the points for it and I cast it, I get to control it. And that makes sense to me. That is really good. If I didn't like it in 2.0 where you would cast it and all of a sudden it's like, wah! And then your opponent who paid no points for it gets to move it and mess you up, and it's awful.
Remember the swords in 2.0?
Yes.
The flying swords?
Uh-huh.
They did bonus damage against Chaos, so I was wrecking your Vikings.
Yep. That was pretty fun. That was a pretty fun one.
Because they happen.
So that's a good way to fill in the list at the end as well. Throw in an endless spell there is usually pretty good. I find it pretty rare that I want more than one endless spell. I mean, if I have a lot of casters, maybe, but usually having bodies on the board is going to be better than having an extra endless spell or two. But they are there to help fill in. And most of them are between 40 and 70 points. You've got a few outliers, but there's also Flaming Skull, which is only 20 points. So you can fit that into a lot of lists, which is good. Anytime I have like 30 points left over, 20 or 30 points, I'm
what
like,
happens
ooh.
if you have 19 points left over?
Well, there's been lots. I think my Virkos list is 15 points under. So I'm like 5 points away from having a skull, but it's just not worth it to take anything out. So,
Yeah.
All right, any final list tips?
If you're casual play, don't chase.
Oh yeah, don't chase the meta. It's not worth it. Oh, I do have one final tip.
What is it?
And that is most armies have battle line, which is like, they're always battle line. They're Arcanaut Company, or they're zombies, or they're liberators, whatever it is. Every army has like their battle line. And then almost every army, or at least I think probably every army, has stuff that can be battle line if.
Yes.
So, for example, on Caradron, if you're the right Barak. What are they called? Skyholds? I forget what they're called. But if you're the right subfaction, your Thunderers become battle line. Or your Gun Haulers can become battle line.
Just a million boats.
If you have the right general, then all your Balloon Boys become battle line. And so that's a cool thing to think about, because you want to say, all right, well, I don't want to spend all my points on Arcanaut Company because they're not super good. So maybe I'll do the general and the Balloon Boys, which is great because that saves you points. But now you don't have them. Yeah, you went from 30 models of battle line down to 10. Or down to 9, actually. And so it's like, ooh, did that really help, or did that hurt? Fewer objectives, that probably is fine. But on a game with 5, 6 objectives, you're going to be hurting.
Yeah.
So
you got to be stomping.
So that's something to think about, too, is when you're doing your battle line, do you want to go with the Horde battle line? That's usually pretty easy to kill, but will give you a ton of models. Or...
what are they called? Skaven.
Yeah. Or do you want to go with the Elite? Daughters of Cain is another great example. You can do Witch Elves or Sisters of Slaughter, and they're super cheap, and you can get a lot of them. But they'll die easy. Easy.
I see.
Or you can go with the snake ladies, which are battle line,
Snakes.
or can be battle line with the right general. But you don't get as many bodies, but they've got 2 wounds each. They actually do some good damage. And it's, it makes your army a little bit more elite, but, there's pluses and minuses to that. So I think every time I look at a list, that's one of the things I try to fill out my battle line first and say, all right, what do I want to do here? Do I want more elite? Do I want more hordes? Tick the boxes, and then I build in with my fun stuff after that.
Yeah.
Final thoughts?
No.
No.
I haven't followed.
Well,
You've covered it all.
we've covered everything there is to know. Well, Probably.
There's no way this can be exploited for an unfair advantage.
Yeah, no way, I'm sure.
No way, right?
All right, well, this has been an episode of Battle Ready. Thanks so much for watching.